Welcome to the Wellness Lab Digest, where we help you to absorb powerful, life-changing insights from top wellness experts with our daily, bite-sized wellness podcast summaries. Each episode is packed with distilled, powerful takeaways to boost your health and well-being. To support this podcast, please scroll down on whatever app you're listening on. Ratings and reviews are helpful. Even better, just send the show to a friend. Or check out our sponsors at the bottom of the page, or simply click the Support the Show link.
All right, let's get started. Ever heard of blue zones?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a deep dive into them today. They're these really fascinating places all over the world
Wow.
where people live way longer.
Healthier.
Yeah.
And happier lives.
Yeah.
And
they're so different.
I know, right?
Like, it's crazy. They're all over the place.
All over.
Yeah, from islands in Greece to mountain villages in Japan, and even a community right here in California.
It's wild. But what they all share is this really interesting approach to life, especially their diets.
Exactly.
And luckily for us, we have this awesome conversation between nutritionist Rhiannon Lambert and journalist Julia Crouch.
Oh, yeah, the author of The Happiest Diet in the World.
Exactly. That's the one.
Such a good read.
It really is. And Crouch's personal story with her Italian grandmother really got me hooked.
Oh, yeah, the eat philosophy.
Yes. Such a breath of fresh air, isn't it? Like the opposite of all that good food, bad food stuff we hear all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Like
Yeah.
it really makes you think, how do Blue Zone residents approach food so differently?
Right. And is there some secret ingredient or magic food they're all eating to live so long?
Like a superfood.
Yeah, something like that. Is that the key to it all?
You'd think so, right?
Right.
But it's actually way simpler than that.
Oh.
Yeah. Across all the Blue Zones, about 90% of what they eat is whole plant-based foods.
Plant-based, huh? Okay, that makes me think about boring salads and,
Yeah.
not a very exciting or tasty way to eat.
Uh-huh.
Is really all there is to it? Just plants?
It's not that simple. It's not all about, like, deprivation.
Okay.
Think vibrant colors and flavors. Fruits, vegetables, all kinds of legumes, nuts, seeds, real ingredients, things you could actually, grow yourself.
Oh, I see what you mean. So it's more about shifting our focus away from all that processed stuff back to the basics.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes a lot more sense, and it feels a lot less intimidating, actually.
Right.
And speaking of real ingredients, Crouch really emphasizes legumes.
Yeah, they're so versatile, aren't they?
They are, and so good for you. She even mentioned this tip from the nutritionist, adding buttermilk to mashed potatoes.
Oh, that's smart.
Right, like such an easy way to boost the protein and fiber.
Love that. But, it's interesting. Blue Zones actually have pretty high-carb diets.
Wait, high carb? Seriously?
Yeah. It kind of throws that whole carbs are evil thing out the window, huh?
Right. It really does. But then how are they thriving on so many carbs if that's supposed to be so bad for us?
Well, it all comes down to the type of carbs they're eating.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about complex carbohydrates found in whole grains, legumes, and all those delicious veggies.
Got it. So not the refined carbs that are in like processed foods and sugary drinks.
Exactly. Complex carbs break down slowly, which means they provide sustained energy. Right?
Makes sense.
Not like those refined carbs that spike your blood sugar.
And then you crash.
Exactly.
You just feel awful.
Exactly. You're left feeling totally drained.
Ugh, I hate that feeling. Okay, so it's not about ditching carbs altogether, but being smart about which ones we're eating.
Yeah, choosing the ones that actually fuel our bodies in a good way.
Okay, I can get behind that. Now, what about sugar? That's got to be a no-go in the blue zones, right?
Well, they do consume sugar, but it's way less than, say, people in the UK.
Okay, that makes sense. How much less are we talking?
About half the amount of free sugars.
Wow, that's a big difference.
It is. And Crouch has this great anecdote about tomato sauce.
What is it?
You know how a traditional Italian tomato sauce might have, a touch of sugar to balance things out?
Yeah.
Well, she compares that to a pre-made sauce, and get this. It had 7 teaspoons of sugar in it.
Whoa! 7 teaspoons. That's insane. I had no idea there could be that much sugar hiding in something like tomato sauce.
Right. And that's just one example.
Oh, man. So it's not that sugar is the enemy, but we really got to be mindful of how much is sneaking into our food.
Yeah, especially all those processed foods.
This is making me rethink everything in my pantry.
Uh-huh.
I know, right?
We might need to do a little label reading after this.
Definitely.
But it can't just be about the food, can it? What about the rest of their lives? What makes them so active and less stressed?
You're absolutely right. It's bigger than just diet.
Yeah.
It's like this whole tapestry of things.
Uh-huh.
Diet, movement, managing stress,
Yeah.
and really strong social connections.
Okay.
They're all intertwined.
I see.
For example, their approach to movement is supernatural, nothing crazy or intense,
Yeah.
but it's joyful
Right.
and consistent.
Got it.
It's not about forcing themselves to do something they hate.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. So what are we talking about here? Walking, gardening, dancing,
Yeah, all that good stuff.
those everyday activities that kind of get you moving without even realizing it, right?
Exactly. It's all about finding those things you enjoy
Uh,
and weaving them into your life naturally.
I like that. It's not like, okay, I have to go to the gym and run on a treadmill for an hour.
Yeah, who wants to do that?
No, thank you. Like Crouch, for instance. She loves things like yoga,
Yeah.
swimming, and just getting out for a walk.
That's great. It's simple.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be complicated.
Totally. Speaking of things being woven in, what about social connections? Where do those fit in?
Oh, they're huge in the blue zones. Like, one thing that really struck me is how much they emphasize social connection and having meals together.
Oh, yeah. They're always having those big family feasts.
Right. It's like constantly getting together with family and friends.
Oh, yeah?
Enjoying food as a community.
Yeah.
And just like strengthening those bonds, you know.
I see what you mean. It's like food's at the heart of their social lives.
Totally.
Not just fuel.
It's about connection. It's about tradition.
It's about coming together.
Yeah, exactly. And like you really see the contrast, right?
It's how we live today.
Yeah. Grabbing food on the go,
Mm.
eating alone.
Scrolling on our phones.
Exactly. Like glued to a screen.
Yeah, it really makes you realize how much we're missing out on. It's kind of sad, isn't it?
It is. I know I've been guilty of like mindlessly scrolling through my phone while I'm eating way too many times.
Me too.
But one thing I'm wondering about, what's the deal with alcohol in blue zones? Like, is it totally off limits?
It's actually pretty interesting.
Oh,
They do drink alcohol,
okay.
but it's more like moderate, and it's usually part of a social ritual,
Interesting.
often enjoyed with meals, you know?
I see.
So very different from like the binge drinking culture that we see.
Yeah, it's not about getting drunk.
No, not at all. It's
like,
more about the social aspect of it,
yeah, that makes sense.
like savoring a glass of wine with loved ones as part of like a mindful gathering.
Right. And maybe that changes how it affects us.
Yeah. It really highlights how all these pieces of Blue Zone living are like connected, you know?
They all work together.
Totally. But, you know, it's important to remember that the takeaway isn't about like dropping everything and moving to an island.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
I've
don't think
learned-
I can convince my family to do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's more about taking what we've learned and applying it to our own lives.
Yeah, like finding that balance, right?
Right, and prioritizing real food.
And enjoying it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like rediscovering the pleasure of cooking and sharing meals.
That eat philosophy.
Exactly.
I love that. But listening to all this, it's easy to feel a little overwhelmed.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, where do we even begin?
The key is to focus on those small, sustainable changes, right?
Small steps.
Yeah, not like a complete overhaul.
Okay.
More like weaving one or two principles into your routine.
So maybe it's like cooking at home one more night a week,
Yes.
using fresh ingredients,
Yeah.
or making a conscious effort to put away our phones during meals and actually connect.
I love that.
Yeah.
Just those simple things.
It's not about being perfect.
Exactly.
Right.
Like that's what Crouch emphasizes too, you know.
Yeah.
We don't need to stress about like every little slip up.
We're human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about the bigger picture.
It's about enjoying the journey, not stressing over every detail.
I love that. It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And this whole conversation has been so inspiring, seeing how these simple
Yeah.
yet powerful principles
Yeah.
can really make a difference in people's lives.
Totally. It really challenges what we think about aging, you know?
Yeah. It's not just about surviving,
Right.
it's about thriving.
Exactly. Having energy, having joy, really living life to the fullest.
Yeah, it's about adding life to our years,
Yes.
not just years to our lives.
I love that. You said it perfectly.
And that's what makes this whole concept so fascinating.
Oh, no, right?
It's not a quick fix.
It's a way of life.
Yeah, it's about cultivating a way of life that nourishes our bodies, our minds, and our spirits.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's holistic, you know?
It really is. And it's about recognizing that connection between everything.
Yeah.
The food, the movement, the social connection,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing we have more power over our well-being than we often give ourselves credit for.
You got it. And that's like such an empowering message.
I know it is. It kind of gives us permission to step back from all that noise, you know?
Yeah, all the diet culture, all the pressure to look a certain way or eat a certain way.
All that stuff.
Yeah, and just reconnect with what really matters.
Exactly. And as we wrap up our deep dive into blue zones,
Yeah,
I'm left with this feeling of, like, possibility
yeah.
and hope. Like, we can create these pockets of well-being wherever we are.
What a beautiful thought.
Yeah.
And it brings us to a question for you,
Oh, yeah.
dear listener.
What is it?
What small step can you take today to bring a little bit of blue zone living into your own world?
It really is empowering. Like, it makes you wonder, you know?
Yeah,
If these communities can create such incredible lives for themselves, what's stopping us from doing the same?
right. Like, it's not about copying them exactly,
Right.
but taking those core principles,
Yeah.
the essence of what makes them thrive,
Uh-huh.
and adapting it to our own lives.
Yeah. You know what keeps coming back to me?
What's that?
That idea of ikigai.
Oh, yeah. The Japanese concept of having a reason for being.
Exactly. It seems like Blue Zone residents have that in spades, don't they?
Totally. Like whether it's their family, their community,
Mhm.
or even just like their daily routine.
Yeah. They have this real sense of purpose, like they know why they get up every morning.
It's so powerful, and it really ties into everything we've been talking about.
It does.
Like that sense of purpose, having something to look forward to every day.
Yeah.
It seems like it fuels their longevity.
Right. It's not just about living longer.
No, it's about living meaningfully.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be this huge life-changing thing.
Right.
It can be something simple, like
Yeah.
finding joy in your garden
Or
or connecting with loved ones over dinner.
sharing your skills with others.
Exactly. Those everyday moments, those little connections.
Those are the things that matter.
They really add up. It's like a reminder that
Yeah.
we don't need to wait for some big event to find our purpose, you know?
Totally. It's already there.
It's woven into our lives.
Yeah, exactly.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into blue zones,
Mm-hmm.
I'm left with this like sense of possibility
Yeah,
and a renewed appreciation for the simple things.
I love that.
It's not about changing everything overnight,
Right.
but just taking those small steps
Those intentional shifts.
toward a way of life that really nourishes us, you know?
Totally. Mind, body, and spirit.
It's all connected. Well, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into blue zones.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
We did, and we hope it's inspired you to think about how you can bring a little bit of that blue zone magic into your own life.
Remember, you have the power to create a healthier, happier life.
One delicious, joyful step at a time.
Thank you for listening to the Wellness Lab Digest. If you receive value from the podcast, I have 3 asks of you. 1, share the show on social media with your friends and tag the show at the Wellness Lab Digest on Instagram. Number 2, please leave a rating and review in whatever app you're listening on. And last but not least, please let me know what topics you would like us to cover in the future. You can contact me at empoweringmen.org/contact. And right now we have a free ebook to get you started on your wellness journey as well. That's empoweringmen.org/contact. To support this podcast, check out our sponsors at the bottom of the page or simply click the Support the Show link